Hello again. I just got done reacting to what if Otis. Let me check. Hang on. I'm gone. Get me back on here. I just got done reacting to what if Order 66 was executed at Geonosis, I guess, from PPSW. And I just got done reacting to that. Now I'm reacting to what if Bail Organa betrayed Obi-Wan and Anakin from Star Wars Quill. I'll put Star Wars Quill's channel in the description below so you can check out the original video. Now I think, this time Obi-Wan and Yoda will not be prepared for Vader, I believe. They will not be prepared for Lord Vader to arrive. So let's see what happens if Vader came. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'll put the original channel in the description so you can check out the original video. So let's see what happens if Bail betrayed Obi-Wan and Yoda.
What if Bail Organa betrayed Obi-Wan and Yoda? How would that change things? Let's find out. So in this timeline, after donning the suit, Vader makes finding Obi-Wan his priority. In the original timeline, after putting him in the suit, Sidious had sent Vader on several missions, including one where he had to make a new lightsaber, but in this timeline, Sidious would not do that. Instead, believing that going after Kenobi would make Vader stronger, Sidious implores Vader to hunt down the person who left him to burn to death. And to motivate Vader a little more, Sidious would also make him believe that it was Obi-Wan's presence on Mustafar that got Padme killed. He took everything from you, Lord Vader. Now you must make him suffer for it. This is what Sidious told Vader, and Vader believed what his master said. Everything was Kenobi's fault. In the days that followed, Vader found himself replaying the fiery duel on Mustafar over and over in his mind, and with every recollection, his resolve to find and destroy Kenobi intensified. And Sidious, capitalizing on this obsession, presented Vader with Yoda's lightsaber, the very weapon the Jedi Grand Master had dropped during his failed attempt to kill Sidious in the Senate. So this right here is a huge deviation from the original timeline. A Sith lightsaber is not given, it has to be taken. This was the belief that at least the rule of two Sith held. But here, Sidious makes an exception, as he sees that Vader right now has no patience to hunt down a Jedi to make a lightsaber. Use this relic to forge a new tool of vengeance, Sidious suggested, presenting Vader with Yoda's saber. And Vader, embracing the idea, took the saber and poured his anger into the kyber crystal within the Grandmaster's saber. And as a result, the crystal, once a vibrant green, slowly darkened, absorbing the Sith Lord's malice and turning a deep blood red. So side note, this is how a Sith lightsaber is made red. It is done by taking a Jedi's lightsaber, removing its kyber crystal, then corrupting the kyber crystal with negative emotions like anger or hate. This process can be seen both in the Vader comics and in the game Jedi Survivor. Anyways, after the crystal was bled and the lightsaber turned red, Vader modified the hilt of Yoda's saber to fit his style, creating a weapon that not only symbolized his transformation, but also served as a conduit for his rage against Kenobi. Again, this is not how a Sith is supposed to acquire a saber, and Sidious told Vader the same, and added that Vader should think of this lightsaber as a temporary weapon, and that Kenobi's weapon should be the one that Vader should corrupt and wield. Anyways, with a weapon now acquired, Vader's thoughts turned to how Kenobi could have navigated the challenges of escaping Mustafar and hiding from the Empire. Vader began his meticulous research. He spent hours analyzing security footage, tracing Kenobi's steps backwards from Mustafar to Coruscant. And it was then that he saw it, a figure cloaked in the shadows of Padme's starskiff. And as Vader went over the security recordings, he saw Kenobi discreetly entering Padme's ship. And it was then that the Sith Lord realized that Obi-Wan had not been aided by Padme in his movements. Someone else was helping him. Who else would dare? Vader murmured to himself, his voice a metallic echo. Names flashed through his mind. Allies of the Jedi, former Republic loyalists, but one name crystallized above all others. Bail Organa, the senator from Alderaan. The same senator who had transported Padme's body back to Naboo. A body that only Obi-Wan, as Anakin knew, could have taken off of Mustafar. So soon enough, Vader made his way to Alderaan, Bail Organa's home planet. As Vader's Star Destroyer loomed ominously above Alderaan, the sense of dread permeated the air of the peaceful planet. Accompanied by a massive Imperial fleet, Vader's arrival was swift and his purpose clear. The Dark Lord descended upon the beautiful ancestral castle of Bail Organa, where the senator lived with his wife, Bria Organa, and their newly adopted daughter, Leia Organa. Vader's clone troopers overran the castle, utilizing the security with chilling efficiency. Within moments, Bail Organa, Bria Organa, and a 1-month-old Leia Organa were forcefully brought before the Sith Lord in their grand hall. Bail, his face a mask of concern and confusion, tried to assert some control. What is the meaning of this intrusion? This is sovereign territory. Before he could finish, Vader's hand shot out, using the Force to grip Bria, lifting her into the air. As she choked, struggling for air, fear etched across Bail's face. "Remove everyone but the family," Vader commanded coldly, his modulated voice echoing through the hall. The clone troopers and Imperial officers fled out, leaving Vader with a small, frightened family. And once they were alone, Vader's gaze turned back to Bail, who watched helplessly as his wife gasped for breath. "Senator Organa," Vader began, his voice low and threatening, "I require answers. How did you come to find Senator Amidala's body?" Bail, with his voice strained under the weight of the situation, replied while trying to maintain his composure. "We received an urgent communication from a medical facility on Polis Massa, an asteroid field in the Outer Rim. They informed us that someone had brought Padme there, and they found my contact information among her belongings. That's all I know, I swear it. Please, release her." Bria struggled for air, grew more desperate, her face turning red as her eyes began to water. Vader slightly relaxed his grip, allowing her to swallow a gasp of air. Bail's fear was palpable. Not just a fear for his wife and his child, but also a dread of something deeper, something he desperately tried to conceal. But Vader sensed it. "Do not take me for a fool, Senator," Vader's voice boomed. "There is more you are not telling me. Your fear betrays you." Bail, shaking with a mix of anger and terror, glanced at Leia, who whimpered softly in her crib nearby. "I have told you everything. There is nothing left to say." "I swear to you," he protested, his voice cracking under the strain. But Vader, unconvinced and incensed to the point of cruelty, flicked his wrist abruptly, tightening his invisible choke on Bria's neck. And then, with a heart-wrenching gasp, her body went limp, and with swift, ruthless motion, Vader summoned her corpse to his lightsaber. Bria's head fell onto the grand table, a gruesome testament to Vader's wrath. Bail screamed, a sound of pure anguish. Leia, startled by the commotion, began to cry. The wails of the infant seemed to echo Bail's grief, filling the room with a chilling symphony of despair. Vader again turned his menacing gaze back to Bail, who was now kneeling, helplessly beside his wife's lifeless body. "Your silence has cost you dearly. I will not be lenient any further," Vader threatened, his tone devoid of any compassion. Vader then told Bail that he knows he's hiding something, and that if the next words out of his mouth are lies, then he, Vader, would kill his child, and that how Bail's entire family killed in front of him, and that still find out where Bail is hiding, by whatever means necessary, and Vader could tell that Bail believed it. Outside the Grand Hall, the waiting clone troopers exchanged uneasy glances, their discipline unable to fully mask the discomfort they felt. The castle, once echoing with the grandeur of Alderaanian royalty, now resonated with a sinister chorus of screams, the clash of a lightsaber, and the distressing cries of a child, which eventually stopped. This is what the troopers outside heard. None dared to enter until orders were clear, and the command finally came when Vader exited the chamber. The Dark Lord's stride was unwavering, a grim determination etched into the movement of his black-clad figure as he walked past his troopers. His cape billowed silently behind him, an ominous shadow that seemed to swallow light. He paused briefly to address the officer in charge. "Secure the premises. Ensure there are no further disturbances," Vader commanded, his voice devoid of any emotion that might have betrayed what had just transpired inside of the family. Then, as the troopers entered the Grand Hall, the sight that greeted them was horrific. One of the clones, who had taken part in many battles during the Clone Wars, staggered to the corner, fighting back the urge to vomit. As the ominous silhouette of Darth Vader receded from the Grand Hall of the Organa Castle, leaving behind a scene marked by tragedy and silence, he moved with a single-minded purpose towards his ship. Upon entering his ship, Vader immediately contacted Emperor Sidious, his hologram flickering to life with a sinister glow. Master, Vader's voice resonated with the news of his dark triumphs. I have located Kenobi and also Yoda. Yoda hides in the swamps of a planet known as Dagobah, while Kenobi dwells on the sands of Tatooine. Sidious, his face a tapestry of malice and satisfaction, responded with a thin smile. Excellent, Lord Vader. Your progress pleases me, Sidious said, his voice oozing with cold satisfaction. Tell me, what of the Organa family? And the young child? What has become of them? Vader's response was deliberately vague, his voice devoid of emotion. The Organa, their family, will trouble us no longer, he intoned darkly. Their future has been appropriately addressed. Sidious smiled wide and slightly. Good, Lord Vader, good. Such is the fate of all who oppose us. Let their silence serve as a lesson to any who would shelter our enemies. Vader nodded once, sharply. I will depart for Tatooine and end Kenobi, my master, Vader declared without any hesitation. And to this, Sidious agreed. As for whether Vader would fail again, Sidious had his suspicions, but he hoped Vader would not repeat the same mistakes as last time. And he further concluded that if Vader could not defeat Kenobi, he wasn't worthy of being a Sith. And so, Sidious agreed. Following which, Vader entered the transmission and prepared to head to Tatooine. But as he prepared to leave, Vader paused, and then he looked upon the lightsaber he had made. The lightsaber constructed from that of Master Yoda. And suddenly, a new, chilling thought crept into Vader's mind. An idea both macabre and symbolically powerful. A ruthless plan formed in his mind, a way to not only defeat Kenobi, but to utterly break his spirit before killing him. Why not destroy the teacher before the pupil? Vader mused to himself. Yoda's demise would send a clearer message. Bringing his head to Kenobi would not only signal the end of the Jedi, but shatter him completely. This is the plan that Vader came up with. And determined to execute his plan, Vader climbed into his starfighter. As he programmed the coordinates for Dagobah into the navicomputer, his mind was clear and focused on the mission. This mission was personal, a test of his powers, and a proof of his allegiance to the dark side. Vader also decided that he would not be taking his fleet with him. He could destroy Yoda with ease, Vader told himself. And as Vader's fighter detached from the docking bay and slipped into the void of space, officers and clones noticed the departure of Vader's starfighter. The communications officer tried to establish contact with Vader, adhering to protocol which dictated the monitoring and support of all high-ranking officials on critical missions. Lord Vader, this is Control. Do you require any assistance on your mission? The officer broadcasted through the comm. There has been a change of plans. Control. I require no assistance. If the Emperor inquires, inform him that I have departed for the Dagobah system, Vader said. And before the communications officer could respond, Vader switched off the communications panel with a decisive flick. He knew his actions might draw concern or attempts to contact from his subordinates, and Vader wanted none of those interruptions in what he considered a sacred vendetta. As Darth Vader jumped into hyperspace to approach Dagobah, the ripple of concern it caused was profound, especially when Emperor Palpatine learned of Vader's unilateral decision to divert from the initial plan of confronting Kenobi to seeking out Yoda. Lord Vader has rerouted to Dagobah, my lord, an officer reported. Dagobah? Palpatine echoed, a sharp edge of alarm piercing his voice. Yes, my lord. He instructed us to inform you. Palpatine paused, his fingers steepling in deep thought. He knew all too well the extraordinary capabilities of Yoda, and he understood that Vader, still adapting to his new mechanical suit and reeling from his recent transformations, might not be a match for such a formidable foe. Lord Vader might not be ready for this, Palpatine muttered, more to himself than anyone else. He then quickly turned to the communications panel, tried to contact Lord Vader immediately, command him to abandon the course and continue with his original mission. The officer who took this command again tried to contact Vader, but with no success due to Vader's deliberate radio silence. Palpatine realized he needed to take a more decisive action. Prepare my shuttle, Palpatine ordered Masamera, who was standing next to him. I will go to Dagobah myself. Additionally, dispatch the 5 of his legion to assist. They will follow in a separate transport. Yes, my lord, Masamera responded. And without wasting any time, Darth Sidious made his way to his ship. Because he could sense that Lord Vader was in danger. Again. In the dense, mist-covered swamps of Dagobah, Yoda sat quietly in his humble hut, tending to a small fire that flickered and danced with each drop of rain that managed to seep through the thick canopy above. The Grand Master's expression was one of contemplation and calm. but it shifted suddenly as a dark presence touched the edges of his senses. A presence filled with anger and raw power. Yoda stilled, his hands posing over the flames. The dark energy was powerful, and distinctly familiar, though marred by pain and hate. Approaching the darkness, yes, Yoda murmured. The realization that this being was coming alone suggested a determination and purpose that was chilling. Yoda then wondered what this could mean. Had the Empire discovered him? If so, then it was not only he who was in danger. What if the Empire finds Obi-Wan and through him, Anakin's son? If found I am compromised, Master Kenobi might be, Yoda concluded, his voice a whisper among the sounds of the swamp. With deliberate movements, Yoda reached for an old communicator, a device he had hoped never to use. He activated it, sending a signal to Tatooine. When Obi-Wan's image flickered to life, the concern was evident on both their faces. Because Kenobi knew that Yoda contacting him meant that something was most likely wrong. Compromised, we may be, Obi-Wan, Yoda stated urgently. Found, this planet has been. A dark presence approaches this planet. Seek refuge, you must. Obi-Wan's expression hardened with understanding. Yes, Master. And the boy? What should I do? Stay, Luke must. Better hidden, Luke will be, if with you he is not. Remember, believe all that with Padme, her children, perished. If with you Luke stays, he will be in danger. It is possible that the Empire does not have a full picture on what transpired. Luke and Leia's survival, they might not know. Best option it is to leave Luke with his family. In response to this, Obi-Wan nodded. I understand, Master. I will make preparations immediately. After a brief pause, filled with unspoken concern, he added the following. May the Force be with you, Master. And with you as well, Obi-Wan, Yoda replied, ending the transmission. He then turned his attention back to the approaching darkness. Standing at the entrance of his hut, Yoda closed his eyes, reaching out with the Force to sense the nearing entity more clearly. As he stood there, his small figure a bastion of calm in the creeping fog, Yoda readied himself. The future of the galaxy could well depend on the outcome of this encounter. And then, as moments passed, Yoda sensed the ship landing pretty close to the dark side vergence, the cave, close to which Yoda had set up his hut. And coming back to Vader, moments prior to Yoda sensing his landing, as the Sith Lord starfighter streaked through the atmosphere of Dagobah, he found himself surrounded by the dense, murky mist that draped the planet. Despite his immense power in the Force, he was unable to identify Yoda's location or even sense his presence in the Force. The planet itself was a conundrum, saturated with a raw, primordial energy that seemed to scramble Vader's senses. So Dagobah was home to a particular anomaly in the Force, a dark side cave known formally as the Cave of Evil. This cave, saturated with dark energies, was a natural vergence in the Force, a place where the dark side was unusually potent. Such places often acted as mirrors, reflecting and amplifying the innermost fears and darknesses of those who dared to enter. For Yoda, this cave served a dual purpose. It was not only a place for introspection and confronting his personal demons, but also a strategic hideout. The overwhelming dark side energy of the cave effectively masked Yoda's strong light side presence, making it nearly impossible for anyone to detect his presence on the planet. This was the problem that Vader faced in finding Yoda. But fortunately or unfortunately for Vader, even though he couldn't feel the presence of Master Yoda, he could feel the presence, the strong dark side presence, of the cave, the vergence of the dark side. And as he was piloting his starfighter through the atmosphere of Dagobah, Vader felt a compelling draw towards the surge of dark energy. And Vader reasoned that if Yoda were hiding anywhere on the planet, the vicinity of such a powerful dark side location might be possible, either as a beacon or a decoy. Thus, Vader piloted his craft towards the source of the dark energy he was sensing, since it was really the best lead he had, because scanning the entire planet for a tiny being such as Yoda was not something he could do in his single starfighter. As he approached, Vader sensed the cave's eerie call. It was as if the dark side itself was whispering secrets, urging him closer. And then soon enough, as the landing gear of Darth Vader's starfighter sank into the soft, wet soil of Dagobah, the planet's dense, swirling mist seemed to close in around him. The atmosphere was heavy, laden with moisture and a palpable sense of foreboding. Each step Vader took was met with the squelch of mud and the distant calls of unseen creatures, their cries echoing strangely through the thick fog. The environment was indeed dark, misty, and profoundly uncomfortable. Qualities that seemed to mirror the darkness within Vader himself. And the fact that the darkness of the night would soon envelop this side of the planet did not make things any more comfortable. Vader paused, taking a moment to survey his surroundings. The eerie stillness of the swamp was intermittently broken by the low hums and rustles of wildlife, creating a disconnected symphony that resonated with the dark side energy pulsating from the cave nearby. The Cave of Evil loomed before Vader, its entrance marked by gnarled vines and an almost palpable darkness that seemed to beckon him closer into the cave. As he approached, the dark side energies intensified, stirring a whirlwind of emotions and memories within him. Vader's connection to the Force deepened, his mind becoming a battleground of past and present, light and shadow. And right then, just as he had reached the mouth of the cave, with his connection to the Force growing, Vader felt a disturbance, a familiar presence he had not sensed in a month or so. It was faint yet unmistakably potent, a presence that spoke of wisdom and immense power. Vader stopped abruptly, his hand instinctively moving towards the hilt of his lightsaber. Turning slowly, Vader scanned the shadowy environment behind him. The presence was elusive, yet it was definitely there, weaving through the dense underground and the mist that blanketed everything. His breathing apparatus emitted a steady mechanical rhythm, the only constant sound amidst the shifting silence of the swamps. And then, as Vader kept looking around with his cybernetically enhanced eyes, the presence became clearer, more defined. Yoda, the ancient Jedi Master, stood a short distance away, his figure small yet imposing against the backdrop of the dark swamp. As the heavy mist of Dagobah's night closed in around them, the only source of light were the bioluminescent flora and the light from the control panel on Vader's suit. But these lights were soon overshadowed by the menacing glow of Darth Vader's red lightsaber as he ignited it. The saber's harsh, sizzling sound sliced through the swamp's natural course, a stark reminder of the dark purpose that drove the Sith Lord. Yoda, standing calmly a short distance away, sensed the familiar energy emanating from the weapon. And then, without a word, Vader launched forward, driven by a relentless desire to end the confrontation as quickly as he can. Getting to Kenobi was the main goal. Fighting Yoda, just a trivial pursuit to aid in Kenobi's pain as Vader saw it. His enhanced visor cut through the darkness of the swampy night, giving him a clear view of his target. However, Yoda, despite his small stature, advanced age, and the lack of a lightsaber, called deeply upon the Force, moving with the agility of someone far younger. His movements were fluid and unpredictable, a dancing flicker of light against the overwhelming darkness. Vader's mechanical limbs powered his movements with brute force, but they lacked the subtlety and finesse of Yoda's technique. Each swing and thrust he made was met with deft parries or nimble dodges. For all his effort, the best Vader could achieve was a slice through the edges of Yoda's robe, the fabric fluttering to the wet ground as the only casualty of Vader's attack. And then, as this went on for a few moments, Yoda saw an opening and seized it. And using this opening, he leapt backwards into the shadow,
Legend versus newcomer?
momentarily blending with the darkness. Went on for a few moments, Yoda saw an opening and seized it. And using this opening, he leapt backwards into the shadows, his figure momentarily blending with the darkness. Vader then scanned the environment, looking for the Jedi Master. And then suddenly, without warning, the sounds of the swamp and the hum of Vader's lightsaber were broken by the rumbling of disturbed earth and falling rocks. Yoda, unseen but undeniably close, had used the Force to hurl large stones at Vader. The Sith Lord's saber moved in a blur, almost, cutting through most of the incoming debris, but the barrage was enough to distract him. Amidst this chaos, a large boulder forced Vader to deflect it heavily with the Force, momentarily exposing him to an attack. And seizing the moment, Yoda reappeared like a wraith from the shadows. With the surge of the Force, he targeted a critical component on Vader's suit, the control panel embedded close to his chest. With a swift motion guided by the Force, Yoda pulled at the control module, effectively ripping it from the suit's systems. And as soon as this happened, Vader staggered, the sudden disconnection causing his breathing rhythm to falter and his movements to slow. The feedback from the damaged suit sent shocks through his body, his vision momentarily blurring. The towering figure of the Sith Lord swayed, grappling with the sudden vulnerability imposed by the loss of his suit's control system. And then, as Darth Vader struggled to regain his balance, grappling with the sudden shock to his system, Master Yoda wasted no time in capitalizing on the opportunity. With a quick, forceful push imbued with the strength of the Force, Yoda sent the faltering Sith Lord stumbling into a cluster of jagged rocks. The collision was jarring, momentarily stunning Vader and leaving him vulnerable. And Yoda, his former blur of movement, swiftly pulled Vader's lightsaber from his grasp. The weapon, now in Yoda's hands, seized its ominous home. And following this, seeing as how the dark figure before him was weakened, Yoda then used the Force to pull away the mask of this mindless beast. And as the mask clattered to the ground, the face of Anakin Skywalker, scarred, pale, and stirred by pain and anger, was revealed under the dim light provided by the swarm's bioluminescent flora. And seeing this, Yoda understood why he sensed a familiarity with this beast. The face before him was unmistakably that of Anakin Skywalker, yet marred and twisted into a visage he barely recognized. He radiated a darkness so profound it was as if Anakin had indeed died, leaving only this shadow in his place. The sight of Anakin's disfigured face reflected back Yoda's own perceived failures, his inability to guide Anakin away from the dark path that had ultimately consumed him. Yoda's expression, filled with a mix of sadness and resolve, softened slightly as he addressed Vader. "Anakin." Yoda's voice was a whisper, laden with the weight of unspoken regret and sorrow. Yoda then looked at what Anakin had become for a moment, and then looked away. "Gone you are, young Skywalker, consumed by Vader." As for Vader, weakened and disoriented, he offered no response to Yoda's words. His breathing labored and uneven through the damaged suit, but still Vader made an attempt to stand up again. The dark presence Yoda sensed in him growing, an abyss threatening to engulf what little remained of the man he once knew as Anakin Skywalker. Feeling a profound sadness over Anakin's fate, Yoda spoke softly, a heartfelt apology to his perceived failures. "Forgive me, Anakin, for not seeing the darkness that awaited you, for failing to guide you." His voice was heavy with regret, echoing through the misty air. And following this, Yoda activated the red saber, its glow casting an ominous red light on the scene. Moments after the conclusion of his encounter with Vader, Yoda hurried towards the ship Vader arrived in, aware that the Empire would soon follow Vader. Entering Vader's ship, he quickly prepped it for departure, his movements practiced and efficient. As the ship lifted off from the swampy grounds of Dagobah, Yoda set the coordinates for space beyond the Empire's immediate reach. The solitude of hyperspace awaited him, a momentary respite to gather his thoughts and plan his next move. His first instinct was to contact Bail Organa, to warn him and discuss their dwindling options. But as he activated the communicator, a chilling realization dawned on Yoda. Bail Organa was one of the very few individuals who knew of Yoda's location. The possibility that Bail could have been compromised became a huge possibility in Yoda's mind. And so, with a heavy heart, Yoda deactivated the communicator, deciding against trying to make contact with Bail. Instead, Yoda reached out to Obi-Wan Kenobi. The connection took painfully long to establish, each passing second amplifying Yoda's fears that Obi-Wan too might have fallen. But finally, Obi-Wan's image flickered into view, his appearance resembling a Tusken Raider. A disguise well suited for anyone hiding out on Tatooine, Yoda figured. "I have moved into the desert, Master." Obi-Wan's voice came through, a hint of wariness in his tone. "This is the best disguise I could manage under the circumstances." Relief washed over Yoda, yet the gravity of their situation remained. "Compromised we may be," Yoda responded, his voice grave. "Find a better refuge, we must." Together they began formulating a plan, discussing potential safe havens and new strategies on how to protect the remaining hopes of the Jedi Order and the galaxy. And as for Yoda's encounter with Anakin or Vader, the Grandmaster chose to spare that information from Obi-Wan for the time being, as they had more immediate concerns. As they talked, Yoda's ship streaked across the stars, the future uncertain but their resolve unbroken. Their conversation was a blend of strategy and caution, each aware of the immense responsibility still resting on their shoulders. As Emperor Palpatine's shuttle descended through the murky atmosphere of Dagobah, the heavy mist enveloped the craft like a shroud. The Sith Lord, surrounded by a contingent of the Empire's elite, felt a twinge of unease, a sensation long unfamiliar to him. Sidious stepped into the soggy ground, his black robes barely touching the mud. The Imperial troops then fanned out, surveying the area for Darth Vader. And quickly enough, they found what remained of Darth Vader. They then alerted Sidious, who approached the area and then motioned away the Imperial forces with a mere flick of his hand, demanding privacy. And as a result, they retreated, leaving Sidious alone with the remains of Darth Vader. The sight that greeted Sidious was grim. Vader's imposing figure was now a crumpled heap beside a cluster of jagged rocks. Insects had already begun to claim the body, nature taking its relentless toll. Sidious stood over the remains of Vader, his eyes starting from Vader's body and his head, which lay a little further away from the body. And looking upon the sight, Sidious quickly figured that Yoda had most likely taken his lightsaber back from Vader and used it to separate Vader's head from his body. The lifeless eyes within Vader's head stared emptily back at Sidious, a stark reminder of the raw potential that had been squandered. For a rare moment, Sidious allowed himself to feel a sliver of pity. His greatest creation and most profound failure had not fallen in glorious battle, but had been left to decay in the damp obscurity of Dagobah. It was a fate that Sidious felt could have been avoided. Lord Vader, Sidious murmured, the name echoing softly in the stillness of the swamp. Reflecting on his own part in Vader's downfall, Sidious felt a flicker of disappointment in himself. He should have taught his apprentice that emotions were tools to be wielded with precision, not wild forces that governed one's actions. In this he realized he had failed Vader, by not instilling in him the necessary discipline to prevent such a downfall. But there was no use thinking of all this now. Sidious then turned his attention to the dark energy emanating from nearby, the Cave of Evil. He could sense its power, a natural wellspring of dark energy that he surmised had obscured Yoda's presence. Clever, he murmured, recognizing why Yoda had chosen such a place for refuge. And following this, realizing that Yoda must have escaped using Vader's ship, Sidious made a decision. There was nothing left to gain from lingering in this forsaken planet. Leave him, he instructed the officers waiting at a distance. This planet will be his tool. Let the swamp consume him. It's fitting in its way. With that, Sidious turned his back on the scene, his cloak trailing behind him as he walked back to his shuttle. The Dark Lord paused briefly, casting one last glance over his shoulder at the lifeless form of his former apprentice. Some form of insect had landed on Vader's face, his tiny form crawling over his dead eyes as they looked back at Sidious. As for what happened after this, well, Sidious, he never really cared for Obi-Wan or Yoda, and never really considered them threats. And that wouldn't change even here, because the reason Vader died was because he went out of his way to seek out Yoda, who Sidious believed just wanted to live out his final days in solitary exile. So even here, point is, Sidious would not consider Yoda or Obi-Wan threats, and wouldn't divert any of his attention to them. Instead, he would divert all his focus towards Project Necromancer, which is what Sidious really cared about. He wanted to live forever. And along the way, Sidious might look for another apprentice. And that's how Sidious would run things. As for Obi-Wan and Yoda, they would eventually meet up, quite possibly on Tatooine, concealed from the Empire, and they would plan their next moves. Maybe Yoda would convince Obi-Wan and Beru to let Obi-Wan and Yoda train Luke. Because of everything that happened on Alderaan, both Jedi would see that going there would not be wise. And the current status of Princess Leia was unknown to them. It's not like there was anyone left for them to ask. And as for Yoda's lightsaber that Vader had corrupted, Yoda would soon figure that it's his own lightsaber and would purify the corrupted kyber crystals. And when a corrupted crystal is purified, what that does is produce a white blade, which by the way is how Ahsoka got her white lightsabers. And so that's how things would stand in the galaxy. Only thing certain was that Darth Vader was dead. Anyways, that's it for this video. If you liked it, do leave a like and do check out my Patreon if you have the time. Link is in the description.
More.
And goodbye. Stay hydrated.
I was hoping, like, maybe, I don't know, he would, I guess, kill Yoda, then go to Obi-Wan, but it's not. Or go to Obi-Wan first, kill Obi-Wan, then bring Yoda Obi-Wan to Yoda. Or something like that, I don't know. Anyway, bye for now, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I'll put the channel in the description so you can check out the original video. Bye for now, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.